Hey, welcome. My name is Nick and today we're going to create this wedding cake as a gift for my brother and sister-in-law on their special day. They're getting married. I'm going to make the cake completely from scratch, starting just with raw ingredients, and I'll begin preparation on Tuesday as the wedding is on Fridays. This is going to be a bit longer video. Maybe I split them up in two videos. I don't know. I'll see it in the end. All the recipes that I cover in this video, you can find them on squaremeterbakery.com. Okay, now enjoy and let's get started. I've also done a quick sketch in Fusion 360, which is a 3D drawing program to visualize how it will look and to check if the proportions are correct. The cake will have two big layers and each layer consists of 4 cake layers and 3 layers of filling. The cake on the top layers will be approximately 26 millimeters in height and have a diameter of around 13 centimeters. And for the bottom layers, the height will be about 30 millimeters and a diameter of 20 centimeters. This is the stand and is designed to give the cake a little bit more height, which enhances the presentation. Okay, let's start with the preparations. I'm going to make syrup first. Syrup prevents for tasting the cake dry, so it's essential. I'll cook the glucose, sugar, water and the orange blossom and let it cool down. Meanwhile, I'll measure out the alcohols, including brandy, kirsch, maraschino and some pure alcohol. These will add it to the sugar mixture later. Once the sugar mixture is thickened, I'll add the alcohols into the sugar mixture and give it a good stir. I'll strain the syrup through a sieve to get out the orange blossom. I have here a bottle that's specially made for the syrup and the distribution of it. But you can also use a brush or just a regular soda bottle and you can drill fine holes in the cap. Now next we move on making the cakes. I'll start by measuring out the butter, sugar, lemon sugar and salt in a mixing bowl. Since the butter is cold, it needs to be cut into smaller pieces to prevent the sugar from flying out when mixing. I have one 15 and one 20 centimeter diameter mold. I'll start with 400 grams of batter for the big mold and 200 grams for the smaller one. And after a test run, I found out that I needed 500 grams for the big one and 300 grams for the small one. I started the test run 165 degrees at 30 minutes, but I lowered the temperature to 160 and gave it 5 more minutes in the oven. I repeated this for 4 times. That's resulting in a total of 8 cakes. 4 small ones and 4 big ones. After allowing the cakes to cool, I'll stack them with plastic layers in between for an easy separation later on. You can also use baking paper for this. With the cake baked, I have a good foundation to start building the wedding cake. I'll place them in the freezer to enhance the flavor consistency. Now, on to making the pastry cream. It's currently Wednesday and tomorrow I will be combining it with buttercream to fill the cake. It's best to prepare the pastry cream a day in advance to allow the flavors to develop overnight. I'll begin by combining the starch and the sugar, gradually adding milk until it slightly thickens to prevent lumps. Once the milk is added, I incorporate the egg yolk. Placing the ball in hot water helps heat the mixture. In a larger pan, I'll measure out the sugar, the milk, cream and vanilla. My vanilla is about 3 years old and it's pretty dried out. I'll soften the dried vanilla bean in the milk on the stove over medium-high heat. Once softened, I'll cut the bean in half, take out the seeds and continue heating the milk. Once the milk is at its boiling point, I'll incorporate a portion of the hot milk into the yolk mixture to improve blending. I wait until the milk is boiling again, then combine it all in the pan. With constant stirring, I'll throw the yolk mixture inside the milk. I'll let it heat briefly until the pastry cream reaches the desired thickness. Throw the pastry cream in some kind of roasting pan to spread it out thin. Let it cool down outside the fridge for an hour and then put it inside the fridge to cool completely. After allowing it to cool in a thin layer, the pastry cream is ready to go in the fridge. I'm cover the pastry cream with plastic, otherwise you get a crust on it. At this moment, it is the third day, Thursday, one day before the wedding, and things starting to come together. Here, I'm taking the cake out of the freezer to let it warm up a bit. I have cardboard that needs to be cut to the correct size. I stack 3 layers of cardboard on top of each other to make it sturdier. I already had a 3D printed mold for 200 mm and 130. I cut the cardboard just inside the line, make it slightly smaller. Now it's time to clean and cut the cake to the correct sizes. The 200 mm cakes came out the right size, but for the 130 cakes I had to trim them down a bit to about 26 mm in height. I used 3D printed blocks over here to ensure an exact straight cut. and they're 26 millimeters in height. Now I'm cutting the cakes at 130 millimeters in diameter. In this step, it's important to go as straight as possible in small increments for a higher precision. For the 200 millimeter cakes, I'm only removing crumbs since they're already the correct size. Next, it's time to make the buttercream. This involves sugar, butter and pastry cream. First you need to pass the pastry cream through a strainer to prevent lumps. And lastly, give it a good stir with a whisk to make it more succulent. Combine the butter and sugar in a bowl and mix. I warmed it up, and after a few minutes I added the first part of the pastry cream into the bowl. In the meantime, I've cut strawberries into halves or thirds in preparation for the cakes. Once all the pastry cream is inside the buttercream, it's time to add the maraschino. This step is crucial and it can make or break your cake. You need to add the correct amount of maraschino. Do small bits at a time. If you put in too much maraschino, you taste it right away. It tastes harsh. It should be a smooth, pleasant taste which complements the buttercream. Small tip. If you have a pen with a damp towel, you can stabilize the ball at an angle, like here. Okay, here I have a turntable and first I place the cardboard. This is where I'll put the cake, so it's easier to remove once it's finished. The turntable is pretty slippery, which can be problematic. You can use some glucose between the cardboard and the turntable to prevent it from sliding. I'm not doing it with the bigger one, but with the small one I use the glucose. Now I'm applying the syrup. Don't be stingy with it. This is a dense cake, and the denser the cake, the more syrup it needs. I'm adding a layer of buttercream, spreading it out with a palette knife. The strawberries go on top of the buttercream, and I'll spread them out slightly so some of the buttercream is still visible. This helps to glue the cakes on top of each other. I'm doing on every layer some kirsch on the strawberries with a little bit of sugar. This gives the taste really a boost. On the second and third layer I'm syruping both sides of the cake. I decided to go for a piping bag instead of the palette knife because it was too slippery and I was afraid that the cake is sliding around. And I'm repeating what I did at the first layer for the second and third. I push back the strawberries that stick out. Now I have 3 layers of buttercream and 4 cakes. I'm cleaning up the excess buttercream. I'm checking to ensure the cakes are straight on top of each other and making any necessary corrections. I'm applying a generous layer of buttercream on the side, and at this point I decided to smooth the cake and put it in the fridge as the buttercream was too warm this moment. This will allow it to firm up a little bit, and when this layer of cream is cold, the next layer will also be cold and hold the shape better. At this stage of the buttercream, I really don't care if the cake is really smooth. It goes in the fridge, and then after 2 hours, take it out for the lines on the cake. The buttercream I cooled down a little bit with the bowl in water with ice cubes. About 2 hours later, I took the cake out of the fridge, and unfortunately I forgot to record the next layer. But at this moment I resumed the recording. I'm using here a palette knife to create decorative lines, and I'm holding the knife at an angle and rotating the cake at a constant speed, and then I go from up till down in one line. When I was finished, I placed the cake on the base. This is a pretty risky task because the base has a small footprint, and if the cake is placed off center, it could potentially tip over, and fortunately it went well. Okay, now goes the cake back in the fridge for the next day. I also prepared a new batch of buttercream and repeated the process for the top layer. I'm adding here a bit of glucose under the cardboard to prevent the sliding, and I did the same process for the top layer as I had done for the big one. So, the next morning, the wedding day. The cake needs to be delivered by 10 in the morning, and I need to finish the cake. I need to take a shower, get dressed in my suit. So I woke up early to ensure I have enough time to complete the cake, because this is not a task to rush. I have taken both layers out of the fridge and placed them on the turntable, determining the front of each layer. I've inserted 3 wooden supports into the first layer to hold up the second. I'm placing here the top layer on the base layer, and as you can see, I just put it a little bit offside. And the nice thing is about making the cake a day before is that you can slide it around a little bit without breaking the buttercream on the sides, because it's really cold and firm. Okay, I'm pleased with the placement. I placed the wedding couple on top, and now I'm gonna decorate it with fresh fruits. I've prepared some more buttercream to attach the fruit. It's like a glue. I'm gonna use whole strawberries, halves, quarters, raspberries, blackberries, red currants and blueberries. Just taking my time to get the fruits in the right place. So here's the final result. I hope you enjoyed the video, and now let's head up to the wedding. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.